Hey guys, it's Briana. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a follow-up video from my last video, which was about my ectopic pregnancy. So if you have not seen that video, I'm going to go ahead and link it up above for you. That way you can watch it, because otherwise this video probably won't make a lot of sense. But that video was super long, and there was more to it that I felt like needed to be said. I just really feel like the emotional side that goes into all of this is so important. I know a lot of moms who have miscarried and lost babies, and I just want this channel to be a place where you can be open and honest and not feel alone. And there were some real emotions that went on after the fact that I just feel like need to be talked about. So let's go ahead and get started. So after all of my anesthesia wore off from my surgery, I was in a lot of pain. They basically went in through my belly button, and then there were also 2 scars on either side of my stomach. I'm guessing kind of where my fallopian tubes are. So I have 3 scars. And I'm pretty sure that the surgery is very similar to when someone gets their tubes tied, but for me, I had one completely removed. So it was a lot of pain and I didn't expect it to be that much pain. And I was just very sore. Like they told me I had to take it really easy or I could get a hernia. And so I couldn't lift Blaze. I had to have for a solid week. My parents, my in-laws, my sister, Nick, like everyone had to help, and I was just out. I couldn't do anything other than rest. And so after about a week, it got better. And then I finally, got back to myself. I took 6 weeks off from working out. I think honestly after probably 2 weeks I would have been good to go back, but I was not in the mindset at all. After the physical healing, then came all of the emotional healing, and I was not there. At 2 weeks post-op, I went for my follow-up appointment with my crappy doctor, and he is not the one who performed the surgery. It was an on-call doctor. So when I am in his office, he walks in and he says, "Oh, so I haven't had a chance to look at your chart. Tell me what happened." I'm just like, what? You don't know what happened? I'm your patient. And so I tell him, and he just makes light of the whole thing. And I tell him, that they removed my tube, and he's like, "Oh yeah, because it ruptured and it was useless." Yes, that's what happened. So he literally checks my stitches and then tells me that if we want to try again, there's no reason to wait. We can go right ahead, and that he knows someone who had one of their tubes removed, and she has 6 kids now. So no trying to find out what happened, no like telling me what was gonna happen when I was pregnant again. Like, am I gonna be high risk? Am I, like, what's happening? It was just the whole thing, the whole process, I did not have good care, and I just had no clue what was going on. And I even remember that in the hospital, I had a bad stay in the hospital because the nurses were like, "Oh, if you have pain, let me give you pain medicine." And I'd be like, "Well, no, I'm nursing, so I really don't want to take anything unless I absolutely have to." And because it was an on-call doctor, that doctor didn't care and they weren't communicating. So they wanted to just send us home without really any kind of closure and telling us what was going on and what were next steps. So it was a very frustrating time. And at that point we were like, okay, we're getting in with this new practice that we had tried to get in with before. We were like, we're gonna go ahead and set up an appointment. That way when I do get pregnant, we will be an established patient. So that appointment didn't happen until the end of August, so I'll kind of pause that and talk about some other things that happened in between there. My surgery happened on May 29th, I believe it was a Wednesday. So honestly, until like mid-June, everything seemed like a blur because I was in so much pain physically, and I couldn't even really focus on how much pain I was in because I had Blaze. And then, once I kind of healed up, all of the emotional stuff just got pushed away because I had a baby, and because it was seriously so much. And one day Nick comes home, I don't even know what month it is, I think it might have been like the end of June or early July, And he tells me that his dad had been asking him how we were doing and then asked how I was doing specifically. And Nick's answer was, well, I mean, I think she's okay. She doesn't really talk about it. And he then, you know, asked me, okay, how are you doing? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally fine. Like, you know, I started talking about how this was different from miscarrying our first baby. And when I miscarried our first baby, the second that we could have gotten pregnant with Blaze, we did. And that helped take away that pain of, I'm ready to have a baby, I was pregnant, and now I'm not pregnant because I was pregnant again. It didn't take away the fact that I lost this baby, but it was just a very different experience, a very different set of emotional obstacles we had to overcome. This one, for some reason, was just, you know, we weren't planning it. It happened. It was tragic. It was traumatic. And it was just very different. So in my mind, I didn't think I was trying to like get pregnant again, which I knew with my first baby, I really was just ready to get pregnant again. And as I'm telling him, I kind of stop in my tracks and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the exact same thing. Because with all three of our babies, we had gotten pregnant the second that we were able to, which we are so thankful. You know, even though we didn't get to, you know, keep all three of our babies, we're so thankful and we know how blessed we are to have that happen. And I couldn't let go of how close in age my babies were gonna be. I had gotten so attached super quickly to the idea of Blaze being 15 months apart. And in my mind, that was just what I wanted now for our family. And so if I couldn't have 15 months apart, I knew if I could get pregnant by August that our babies would be 18 months apart. And that just was what I wanted. And we weren't trying, but we weren't preventing. And we really didn't have a conversation about, you know, are we gonna try again? Are we not? I just kind of was like, well, you know, maybe we'll get pregnant. And Nick didn't say much about it. And I thought we were on the same page and we were just handling it so differently. And I realized what I was doing and I was like, oh crap, this is not good. This is not how I want it to be. But I was still very obsessed with getting pregnant. And my first cycle after my surgery comes and goes, and it's the first time I've ever not gotten pregnant when I could have. And then I'm waiting for the second one to come. Around the time I knew that like my cycle was supposed to happen again, we hadn't been tracking, but I did kind of just like know when everything was supposed to happen. I all of a sudden one day am sitting and I have what I would have sworn I would have said 99% positive that I was having implantation cramps. And I had them with Blaze and my first baby, obviously not with the ectopic pregnancy because that pregnancy happened in my fallopian tube, but I knew that that's what it was. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I check my app and it was right around the time that that would have happened where the implantation would have occurred. And so I knew I was pregnant and I start taking pregnancy tests every single day and I start testing early. And obviously know that they're probably not going to be positive. And we are about to go on vacation the following week. And I start doing the math and I'm like, oh my gosh, while we're on that vacation, like I should be getting my period the day that we're going to leave. Like this is perfect. I'm going to find out on vacation. I'm going to get stuff to tell Nick and it's going to be this beautiful moment while we're on vacation. It's going to feel just like full circle. And I still, every day while we're on vacation, I test and I test and I test and it's all negative. The very last time I test, I realized like I'm not pregnant. And it was so sobering because I'd spent our entire trip, which was our first trip as a family of 3 with Blaze, I spent it obsessed about possibly being pregnant. And I realized like just how me not dealing with my emotions and trying to numb it through another pregnancy and not being able to let go of this idea I had of what I wanted my family to look like, it didn't ruin it. It didn't ruin my vacation, but I was not focused on Blaze. Like, it was like I woke up in that moment and realized this happened at the end of May. It's now the end of August. It's been 3 months, and the summer is gone. Like, the summer passed me by, and it was just like, I remember praying, like, God, you've got to take this from me because I'm not focused on Blaze. And he did. And I started to kind of, in the next few days, like, process it. I had a talk with Nick, and it just felt like, okay, I'm dealing with this now. We get back, and it's time for my appointment with our new doctor. And with my old doctor, he had never even had me fill out paperwork. He had gotten my old, like, doctor records, but I don't think he ever even looked at them. And so I fill out paperwork at this doctor, and she, you know, has me come in, and she's talking with me and looking at my sheet, like, going through it. And within 10 minutes of talking and looking, we find out that I have endometriosis. And it was something that I have struggled with my whole life and just didn't even realize it. So endometriosis is where there's excess scar tissue in the body, and particularly in the uterus. And so it can affect women's fertility, it can make them infertile, and there is really no cure. You can have surgery to kind of clear out the scar tissue, but it usually comes back. It's also very, very painful. And in my case, I mean, I don't know with everyone, but in my case, I have had painful periods since I was a teenager. Like, I used to have to be in high school on prescription pain medication for my periods. And when I told my doctor that, she goes, oh yeah, that's not normal. It's not normal for that early, or really ever, to be on that level of painkillers for periods. She tells me that endometriosis is linked to ectopic pregnancies. So that is probably why I had the ectopic pregnancy. There was probably scar tissue in my fallopian tube, and the baby got stuck. So what's good about my tube being removed actually is that if that was, you know, my problem tube, it's gone, and hopefully there's nothing wrong with my other tube. Endometriosis is also genetic, and my mom had endometriosis, and so she is very confident that this is what I have. The only way to 100% diagnose endometriosis is through, like, exploratory surgery, which is crazy because that's what I had just had when I had the ectopic pregnancy, because they thought that they had caught it early. Instead of doing an emergency surgery, they did exploratory surgery and then found out I was bleeding internally. So she is trying to get the op notes from the surgery to see if they found anything, but they weren't looking for anything, and I don't think they cared. So it's super frustrating because I'm not going under the knife again, and that will just cause more scar tissue. So I'm pretty confident that's what I have. She told me that when we're not trying for having babies, that we need to be on birth control. And the reason for that is that birth control actually helps keep endometriosis and the symptoms at bay. And if you can keep the symptoms at bay and as, you know, small as possible, then you're likely to be able to, like, maintain your fertility, and that's our ultimate goal. She also said that there are some things that we can do to check and see if my left tube has any issues, because that's going to be important going forward now that we know all of this. She did say that because I've had 2 pregnancies in my uterus, one of which was successful, Blaze, that she would be shocked if my left tube is blocked. But if it is blocked, there is one last kind of thing that we can do to try and unblock it. So we have options, we have hope, she's hopeful, and it just blows my mind that my old doctor was not worried or concerned about any of this. She said that the second that I find out I'm pregnant the next time, I have to call, and I will be high risk and monitored for every 2 days until a certain point, and have blood drawn every 2 days to make sure that it's not ectopic. And so they'll draw my blood and they'll be looking for two different things on an ultrasound. And the first is seeing the gestational sac in my uterus, and the second is seeing the baby in the gestational sac. And she said, once we see that, we can officially rule out ectopic pregnancy, and then, you know, we'll be good to go. But like, that is so important because it's such a dangerous situation that can happen again. We left that appointment so overwhelmed with just thankfulness, because we went from being in the dark for months and months and feeling alone and no one caring, no one giving us answers, to this doctor who gave me a hug when I was about to leave. And I'm like, what? And she cared, and she found out what was wrong with my body and how to help me going forward. And we were so thankful for that it took like a day for like all of that to set in and really feel the weight of like, I have endometriosis. We still don't know if I can have kids. Is there something wrong with my other tube? Will I be able to get pregnant again? It was just all of these different things. And I really had a hard time with the whole going on birth control thing, because it freaked me out to be on something that's preventing me from getting pregnant when I don't know if I can get pregnant. It felt like, on top of finally, you know, dealing with all of the stuff I had just gone through, losing a baby, the ectopic pregnancy, the trauma that was with that, now I was having to deal with, did I lose my fertility? Like, I've always gotten pregnant the second that I could, and I've been so thankful, and I realized how fortunate I am, and I know not everyone has that. But did I lose that? Like, is that gone now? Because my reality looks so different, and really just having to let go of that dream, because I was totally hoping that I just wouldn't go on birth control and all of a sudden we'd end up pregnant again, just like, you know, this last time. So it was a lot to deal with, and I really had to lean on God and give him those dreams. And God has been so faithful. I feel like I've been able to lean into this season and embrace my son where he's at, and just enjoy this last few months of him being a baby, because he's about to be 1, and that's a whole new world. And just embracing my family where it's at now, and being a family of 3. And around the same time of this appointment, I think it was a few weeks after, I started a new small group, and the book that we're reading with that is called Why Motherhood Matters. It's by September McCarthy. Yeah, September McCarthy. And the first chapter of this book is called Why Is Everyone Else Having a Baby and I'm Not? Guys, it broke me. Like, God spoke to me through this so much, and the whole book is just about motherhood as a whole, but it starts with her journey of losses. And I highly recommend, if you're a mom in general, get this book, guys, because momming ain't easy, okay? And I don't know, it's just opened my eyes to so much, and I feel like it's perfect for where I'm at in this season and helping me focus on moving forward. And I don't know, I'm in a good place. I think, you know, I've now stepped away from being so ready to have a baby that honestly I have a little bit of fear about having another baby, because now we're at such a good place with Blaze. It's hard to think about adding to that, and I know there's more to that. I know it's fear of it, is this gonna happen again? I can't go through this emotionally again, but yeah, I'm in a good place right now, and I'm just so thankful. So I hope that that kind of clears up all the little holes that were left. We do now have answers. We have a good plan and doctor going forward, and I'm just so excited to have all of this out there with you guys, because it just felt weird not being able to like share it. So now that y'all know everything, I'm so excited for going forward. As we find out more stuff with the doctor, when we get pregnant again, I'm so excited to share that with you guys. So thank you for all of your sweet comments on my last video. This community is amazing and has meant so much to me, and I just seriously appreciate you guys so much. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, so you can stay tuned to whatever is in store for our family. And I have some more content coming that I'm excited about. And just thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.